Greetings, this is John Adcox, and I'm reading to you a response essay to the poem by Michael Drayton, Ode to the Virginian Voyage. And the title of this response essay that I've written is, I Like to Be in America, West Side Story reference. I like to be in America. Okay, now, this essay examines stated claims of the text of the poem, then offers an interpretation of unstated claims with an attempt to fit the poem into its historical and cultural context. To begin, Michael Drayton's Ode to the Virginian Voyage, 1606, seeks to inspire British adventurers to colonize Virginia for England. The poem's speaker claims that those who heed his advice have brave, heroic minds, worthy your country's name, and that they honor still pursue. Drayton's speaker further asserts that those who do not go to Virginia to subdue are shameful, or maybe shameless, loitering hinds, pun acknowledged. Thus, the speaker quickly establishes his desire to convince Britons to take part in the heroic adventure of voyaging to the New World. The text's meaning is a nationalistic advertisement for Britons to move to Virginia, Earth's only paradise. And the speaker creates this desire with images of Eden, plenteous wealth, land, and food to be gotten with little effort. The New World offers a cornucopia to be celebrated, after a brief nod of thanks to the Almighty, with orgiastic glee by those fortunate to make the pleasant ocean voyage to Virginia, a land for heroes who will live in the annals of history. Add exact note here, insert Henry V's St. Crispin's Day speech. This recruitment poem evidently stirred sufficient interest in Virginia. For the next year, the Virginia Company began the Jamestown colony. But the poem proved to be false advertising, for those who made the voyage in 1607 found the reality far different from the illusory claims of the poem. Yet many persisted in holding on to the poem's myths, believing that the land would produce without their toil, that the fish would leap from stream to flying pan, and that, to quote Benjamin Franklin, the fowls fly about, ready roasted, crying, "Come eat me!" But Eden proved a boggy swamp near the mouth of the James River, where disease, disaster, and want quickly reduced many of those heroic minds to moldering dust. The speaker's claims prove as windy as the merry gale that fills the stretched sail, a double pun, perhaps, unintended by Drayton. So much for truth in advertising. The text's unstated claims reveal more than the poet intends, and the meaning of the text demonstrates that Drayton is desperately echoing the British government's fear of being left behind in the 17th century race for empire. In 1606, when the poem was published, Britain found itself struggling to obtain even a foothold in the New World, while Spanish, Portuguese, French, and Dutch colonization advanced at a rapid, ever-expanding pace. Fear of being a second or third-rate nation was quickly becoming a reality as Britain found itself on the losing side of a global game of king of the hill. Unstated, unquestioned by the speakers whether empire was a necessary method for obtaining national prestige. Unstated also in the poem's text is the political national greed behind the voyage to Virginia. The stated claims appeal to the desire of individuals to go to gain fame and wealth. But individuals and their desires were subsumed, lost in the search for national fame and wealth. Which colonies were named for someone other than royalty? And individual efforts were primarily to fill the crown's purse. Any residuals of wealth or fame gotten in the New World were granted, ex post facto, by the crown, and these were often fleeting. Witness the sharply shortened career and stature of the hapless Sir Walter Raleigh. Such a direct exhortation by the poet for Britons to voyage to Virginia to help their king get even more wealth and power, to enable the nation to regain or enhance its damaged prestige, to stake a claim against foreigners, Spanish, Portuguese, French, and Dutch over there in the New World, and to further the exploitative power of Britain's empire, just doesn't have the sex appeal of Drayton's advertising claims. Further unstated in the poem is the harsh policy of removing or reclaiming the Virginians, the Pamunkeys, the Oropax, and other tribes who were to be either evangelized or demonized, displaced or dispatched, all in the name of God, King, and country. Rule Britannia. The poem's explicit advertising claims unwittingly reveal implicit horrors found even at the beginning of an epoch in British history. Slick New World advertising was at work a decade later when John Smith published a description of New England in 1616. Smith explicitly states what Drayton left unsaid, that the Portuguese and the Spaniards are beating the British at the game of empire, which game is what history has been about since the beginning of the world. Smith, echoing the patriotic sentiment of Drayton, asks, was it virtue in them, that is, the empire builders of history who built empires, and baseness in us to do likewise? Surely no. Quoth Jake Barnes from Hemingway's novel The Sun Also Rises, isn't it pretty to think so?